Hello again, everyone. And just to remind you, the book that we're reading is The Boy Who Sailed the Ocean in an Armchair by Lara Williamson. The ISBN number is 9781409576327 and it's published by Usborne. We're on chapter 14 today. Knock knock. Who's there? Don't know, because Dad is playing musical statues. We're just home from the park and have taken off our coats when Dad hears someone at the front door, and he stands completely still and doesn't move. Knock knock. Who's there? Still don't know, because Dad appears to be glued to the floor, even though somebody is repeatedly knocking. Dad, what are you doing? We need to answer the door, I say. I'll do it, shouts Billy, although I think that might be tricky, as he's sitting on the toilet at the moment. I hear the rasp of the toilet roll holder as it revolves. No way, hisses Dad, edging slowly towards the front door. He puts on the chain, then opens the front door a teeny bit to see who it is. After a second, he takes the chain off again, opening the door properly. Hello, boys, says Kat breezily as she wafts in, carrying a dish of bubbling molten lava which she calls lasagna. I brought you this because I guess you're probably still finding your feet in the kitchen, and a little bit of a homemade cooked food wouldn't go amiss. Dad pipes up. You must be psychic. Then his tongue literally unfurls and rolls across the carpet in the direction of the lasagna dish. Kat laughs and wanders into the kitchen. Yes, if a psychic also happens to notice an awful lot of takeaway cartons in the rubbish. She sets the dish down and tells Dad to be careful because it's fiery enough to serve to Beelzebub himself. When Billy comes out the toilet, his tongue joins Dad's on the floor. Dad says Kat must stay because there's no way we can eat all this lovely grub by ourselves. Grinning, Cat ladles out great dollops of lasagna that squeak and bubble as she puts it onto plates, and then she carries them to the table. Dad takes a bowl and fills it with cheese and onion crisps, saying he's sorry he has no garlic bread, so this'll have to do. Next, Kat suggests Dad should put on some music because the flat's gone a bit gloomy again. Hey, I thought you were getting the fun back after the evening of decorating. Come on, let's get the party started, she says, poking Dad playfully in the belly. There's a lot to poke. Dad says he's having a party next Tuesday for real, and will she come? Kat says she'd love to. Within minutes, the music is on and Kat is laughing at Dad's stupid jokes and Billy is doing a little finger dance on the table. When I look around from one face to another, it's like the flat is waking up again. Maybe even our family too. Kat grins at me, shoves a big forkful of lasagna into her mouth and asks if I'm enjoying it. Does the wood have trees? Does the ocean have water? Does hot lasagna take the roof off your mouth? I love it, I mumble through the boiling cheesy pasta blanket that slithers down my throat and nearly takes all my skin off. After downing a glass of water, I get a bit bold, happy on the atmosphere, like Ibiza Nana after a few drinks. I ask Kat if she's married. She hasn't mentioned a Mr. Cat yet, and since she's about Dad's age, I'd expect a Mr. Cat somewhere in the background. Dad tries to make cutting hand signals, but Kat ignores him, thinking he's doing a dance move to the 80s music he's put on. Why? Are you asking? Kat leans over the table towards me. I smell cheese and onion on her breath. Oh no, I reply a bit too quickly. Kat laughs, leans back again and says it's all right because she thinks I might be a little bit young on the young side for her anyway. And no, she's not married. She's been divorced a few years now. Billy tells Kat no one would want to marry me. No one would want to marry you, I hiss. Brian would want me. You can't marry a snail, stupid. They'd never make it to the altar because they're so sluggish. Dad tells us to stop bickering in front of guests and gets into the fridge and finds a few cans of fizzy cola and tells Kat it's all he's got. I know I should have a bottle of wine, but I'm not really organised at the minute. Oh, I'm not sure I should drink anyway. Kat taps her nose with her forefinger. I've got to be able to get back home in one piece. It's a long way. Everyone laughs at the joke and Kat picks up a can and pulls the tab and takes a swig. For the next 10 minutes, we talk about everything from my garden design, which, when I show her, Kat says is amazing, to the park opposite, to what fish the restaurants are serving in town, to what's going on in Kat's hairdressing salon, mainly colouring. Kat tells us she's set up her salon with the inheritance she had when she was younger. Then she says she likes to get out and cut elderly people's hair for those that can't make it to the salon. I can tell Dad is impressed because he's gone a bit goggle-eyed as he picks up the empty plate and takes him to the sink. Billy jumps down from the table and disappears to our bedroom, coming back a minute or so later with Brian. He starts playing with his snail, piping up that Brian could be on a UK talent show. I say, if that's the best we've got to offer, I'm definitely moving to another country. Cat peers across the table at Billy as Billy plonks Brian near the salt shaker. I wouldn't do that, says Cat, reaching out. You'll kill him. Snails don't like salt. Billy says that Cat saved Brian's life and he'll never forget it. A few seconds later, though, he's already forgotten it because Cat has to remind him once again to keep the snail away from the table. Cat seems so nice that I seize my chance to ask her about her mum. When we were decorating the flat, you said your mum likes lilies, I whisper. What's your mum like? There's a huge clatter of dishes behind us and Cat excuses herself and rises from the table, dropping a square of toilet roll, which was doubling as a napkin. Dad said, if it was soft enough for the bum, it would be just fine for the lips. Cat says she'll tell me about her mum later because Dad needs help. Dad turns round and gives her a sheepish nod. A few seconds later, there's an awful lot of laughter and rattling of dishes. Cat flicks a load of foam at me and it sticks to my hair like I've got a bubble wig. Don't ever lose the fun, laughs Cat. It's the law, according to me. What's the law according to your other superhero friends, I ask. Cat looks at me as if I've got two heads, neither of them making any sense. With a name like Catwoman, you'd think she'd know everything about superheroes. 2 hours later, after Cat has gone home and Billy has gone to bed, I settle down with Dad to watch Monster vs. Man on TV. Every so often, I look at him, studying his face. He doesn't look different, but I can't help thinking of all the women he's dating. It's like Dad is a woman magnet. Just as I am distracted by gazing at Dad's long nostril hair, the phone rings. Dad and his nostril trot away down the hallway. On the TV, a troll whacks a man on the head with a fish as he tries to get across the assault course. A giggle escapes from my lips. Ding ding! The man makes his way to the punching wall next and gets biffed in the guts. What kind of crazy person would do this stuff? I ask myself. Over the sound of the TV, I suddenly hear Dad say Pearl's name. I rise off my bum and peer over the back of the sofa through the open door into the hall. I strain my ears and hear Dad pleading with Pearl not to keep bringing him, to leave him. Suddenly, it feels like the previous happiness in the flat has been vacuumed up. After a minute or two, I feel awkward listening in, and I go and hide under the kitchen table, where I find Brian, who clearly left the table 2 hours ago and has only just reached the floor. Beckett! I bang my head on the underside of the table with an almighty thwack. Painfully, I crawl out and tell Dad I was looking for Brian. That's when I stand up and hear a horrible crack under my foot. The sort of crack that makes you realise your internal organs can play their own wind instrument. Gingerly I lift my foot, praying to the gods of all things slimy, and stare at what is underneath. A cheese and onion crisp is stuck to my sock. Brian is still underneath the table. With much relief, I pick him up and say I'm going to put him back in the shoebox penthouse Billy's made for him. Before you go, did you hear anything of my phone call? Dad chews on his lip. I see a tiny split in the skin. What? Did you hear who I was talking to? Asked Dad. The lie tumbles from my tongue like a toddler on a gym mat. No. Dad says that's good, and then he changes the subject, saying he can't wait for the party. He looks at Brian in my hand and says it's time I put him to bed and went there myself. Dad kisses my head and says, I love you, son. I'll tell Dad I love him too. What I don't tell him is that I don't understand him. Once inside our bedroom, Brian goes straight back into the shoebox by Billy's bed. Billy has built him a proper little home out of matchsticks, bits of fluff and a small patch of mud in the corner. You see, Billy, I whisper, placing Brian carefully back in the box. Billy gives a contented little snore. I brought your friend home. I might have fired Brian number 1 into Knuckles' garden, but I made a mistake. You need Brian. I can see that now. Billy's eyelids flicker gently. Then he turns away and lets out a little sigh. I put on my pyjamas and climb into bed. But that's not the last time I see Billy before morning. At 5:43 exactly, Billy comes to me, saying he's had another nightmare. Do you want to get into bed with me? I mumble, through the sleepy haze of a dream about a giant troll whacking me in the face with a giddy kipper as I run across a cracked snail shells in my bare feet. No, Billy replies, it's dark and scary when you close your eyes. You close your eyes every night, I mumble, throwing back the sheets and climbing out. I'll tell Billy we'll curl up in the armchair for a while. I'll tell you more of the story, I say. Billy nods and rubs his eyes briskly before following me to the armchair. When the first boy fell in the water, I tell Billy, wiggling my feet, it felt as though he had escaped the storm. It was calm below the ocean surface. That's when he saw her, a creature so beautiful that he could hardly tear his eyes away from her. She had hair like long dark ribbons, and her skin was wrapped in seaweed. And although she didn't open her mouth, she had the voice he had heard on the surface. Billy asked for her name. I say, I'm not sure, but I'll come up with a name soon. When the second boy followed, hoping to save his brother, he too saw the beautiful creature, I say. Was she a mermaid? Billy takes a swallow cushion and hugs it tightly. I don't know, but she was definitely from another world, and the two boys wanted to stay with her more than anything. They decided they didn't want to go back to the storm because it was hard work trying to get through it, especially when they didn't even know what the land would be like if they reached it. No, they'd stay with her where it was calm. She swam with them through sunken galleons and showed them things they'd never seen before. Giant starfish that looked like they'd fallen from heaven, small shrines made from shells, a coral that grew like plants from the sand. She showed them fish that sparkled like fireworks and pufferfish that floated away like balloons, and she drew pictures on the ocean floor. Billy's eyes droop, and he lifts his thumb and pops it into his mouth, snuggling closer into my dinosaur pyjamas. There is a tiny snore, and Billy is already asleep. Gently, I try to disentangle myself without disturbing him. Lifting his duvet from the bed, I gently cover his little body. I never told you this, Billy, I whisper. The thing is, it was so hard when Mum died, but we had you, and you're special. My eyes fill with tears, and I let them go because there's no one to see them spill. Quickly, I tiptoe back to my bed, hardly seeing where I'm going, and when I pull back the cover, there's a paper crane there, waiting for me. As I pick it up, my tears soak the wing, making it droop a little. And that's the end of the chapter. Until tomorrow.